You know the absolute fastest way to ruin a Rottweiler puppy's joints for, like, the rest of its life?
Oh, yeah. It's usually exactly what people want to do.
Right. It is feeding it exactly the way your instincts are telling you to. Because you bring home this massive breed, and you look at those giant paws, and your brain just does this uh, very basic, very flawed math.
Right. You just think, big dog, lots of food.
Exactly. You think this dog needs to be huge, so I need to pump it full of as much food as possible so it grows up big and strong.
Yeah. And, I mean, it is a deeply ingrained caregiving reflex. You see a young animal and you just naturally want to provide abundance.
Spoiled.
But the biological reality of large breed development, it really turns that instinct into a well-intentioned disaster. We are looking at a metabolic landscape where, honestly, following your gut feeling is actively detrimental to the animal's skeletal structure.
Which is exactly the core tension we are tackling today. So welcome to this deep dive. We've got a super fascinating stack of notes from the Rottweiler Health Academy on the desk today, specifically zeroing in on large breed nutrition.
It's a great set of source material, very clear.
Yeah, it really is. And our mission for you today is to basically cut through the exhausting noise of pet food marketing and decode the actual science of fueling a powerful breed from day one all the way to their senior years.
Because as an owner, you face this relentless barrage of marketing every single time you buy food.
Oh, it's overwhelming. The wolves on the bags, the buzzwords.
Exactly. But if you strip all that away, nutrition is simply the one environmental factor you control 100% every single day.
Right.
I mean, you cannot change their genetics, and you can't always control their physical environment, but what goes into that ball is entirely your decision, and that compounds over a lifetime.
And we know you don't have time to, read a massive veterinary textbook.
Mm-hmm.
You want the shortcut to being a confident owner who actually understands the biological why behind the scoop you're putting in the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, okay, let's unpack this. Let's dismantle this whole idea of maximum growth.
Yeah.
Because the natural instinct is to feed a Rottweiler puppy so it gets big fast.
Right, and the notes from the Academy make a very stark distinction right away. Growing quickly is essentially the exact opposite of growing well.
Wow. Okay, so fast is actually bad.
Yeah, very bad. With a breed like the Rottweiler, there is just a massive amount of skeletal development happening in this highly compressed window. Their growth plates, which are these zones of soft, developing cartilage at the ends of the long bones, they actually stay open well into their first year.
Wait, really? A whole year?
Sometimes up to 18 months, actually.
Oh, wow. So they are just incredibly vulnerable during that entire window.
Highly vulnerable, and nutrition directly dictates the speed of that process. So when a growing large breed puppy takes in, say, an excess of calories, or particularly an excess of minerals like calcium, it forces the body's timeline into overdrive.
Because calcium is a hardening agent, right?
Exactly. So pumping a puppy full of it prematurely calcifies that soft cartilage into hard bone before the joint has even had time to properly shape itself.
Meaning the bone growth vastly outpaces the surrounding joints, tendons, and ligaments.
Yes, the soft tissues just can't keep up.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit more. Trying to force a puppy to grow at maximum speed is basically like framing a 3-story house before the concrete foundation has even cured.
That's a great way to look at it.
Right. Like the frame might go up fast and it looks impressive, but eventually the entire structure is going to buckle under its own weight because the support system just wasn't given time to solidify.
It really will buckle. The surrounding soft tissues, they require time to strengthen and adapt to the increasing mechanical load. Rushing the bone growth compromises the structural integrity of the entire skeletal system.
So what's the actual goal then?
The objective is strictly controlled, well-paced growth, which honestly often results in a physical appearance that completely alarms new owners.
Oh, I bet.
The Academy notes explicitly state that a lanky, lean puppy is biologically much healthier than one that looks impressively thick for its age.
Wait, if I take a scrawny-looking Rottweiler puppy to the dog park, I am absolutely going to get looks. People expect a tank. Are you telling me I should just ignore the entire neighborhood telling you my dog is underweight?
You have to ignore them entirely.
Seriously, just tune them out.
Totally tune them out. People conflate adult breed standards with puppy development. They associate Rottweilers with immense girth and power. So, a lean puppy triggers a panic response in the owner. They think they're failing to provide for the dog.
Right, like they're starving it or something.
Exactly. But that lankiness is the primary visual confirmation that the growth is being appropriately paced. Comparing your puppy's waistline to an internet forum's expectations is just a trap that leads directly to overfeeding.
Man, that really reframes the entire puppy phase. So if pacing the growth is that critical, the actual fuel doing the building must change as the dog matures, right?
Yeah.
Like a lanky puppy putting down bone clearly needs a different metabolic engine than a fully grown 100-pound adult.
Oh, the metabolic engine completely transforms. And to understand that shift, we kind of have to look past the generic labels of protein, fats, and carbohydrates and look at how a large breed actually utilizes them.
Okay, so break that down for us.
Well, a growing puppy is synthesizing new tissue at an explosive rate. They require a specific higher ratio of energy and amino acids relative to their body weight just to facilitate that cellular construction.
Which comes from protein, right?
Yes, mostly from protein for the tissue repair and muscle building. Then fats provide concentrated energy and help with skin and coat, while carbs are giving them that quick energy and fiber. Vitamins and minerals are for the bones and immune system.
Okay, but hang on. If protein provides the amino acids to build muscle, and Rottweilers are famously muscular, why shouldn't an owner just feed their adult dog a high-protein puppy food forever to keep them totally jacked?
That is such a common logical leap. I hear it all the time. But it completely ignores the metabolic reality of an adult dog.
How so?
Well, an adult is in a maintenance phase. The explosive tissue synthesis has stopped. They don't need to build the frame anymore. They require a moderate, steady nutritional profile that's geared towards sustaining existing mass and just fueling daily activity. If you overload a maintenance phase dog with the excess protein and calories designed for growth, the body doesn't just build extra muscle.
It has nowhere to put it, so it just stores it.
Exactly. The liver deaminates those excess amino acids. It basically strips them down, and the body stores the leftover carbon skeletons as fat. You don't get a muscular dog, you get an obese dog.
Wow, okay. That's a huge distinction.
And as they transition into their senior years, that metabolic engine changes again. The basal metabolic rate drops. They become less active, requiring significantly fewer calories to prevent weight gain.
But the notes actually highlight a really interesting catch-22 for seniors, because they need fewer calories, but they still need high-quality protein.
Right, because the digestive tract of a senior dog becomes less efficient at extracting and utilizing those amino acids. They are really prone to sarcopenia, which is age-related muscle wasting.
Oh, so they just lose muscle mass naturally as they age?
Yes, so it becomes this delicate balancing act. You have to restrict the total caloric energy intake to prevent them from getting heavy, while simultaneously ensuring the protein they do get is of the highest biological value so they can actually process it to preserve their aging muscles.
Which makes total biological sense. I get the theory. But, standing in the pet store aisle, staring at 50 different bags of kibble, all covered in wolves and buzzwords, the biology just flies out the window and the panic sets in.
Oh, completely. It's overwhelming by design.
Right. So how does an owner actually translate this metabolic science into buying a bag of food?
Well, first, you kind of have to ignore the front of the bag entirely. The marketing is designed to manipulate human emotions, not feed dogs.
Fair enough. So where do we look?
You flip the bag over and hunt for one specific phrase. You're looking for a statement indicating the food is complete and balanced for a specific life stage.
Okay, the notes mention the Association of American Feed Control Officials, or AASCO. So if a bag says it is complete and balanced for growth or for adult maintenance, that's not just a marketing slogan.
No, it is a regulatory threshold. It guarantees the formulation meets recognized scientific nutritional standards for that exact metabolic stage we just discussed.
Oh, that's incredibly helpful.
And this actually highlights one of the most frequent errors owners make. They find a puppy food, the dog just devours, the dog thrives on it for a year, and then out of convenience or maybe fear of upsetting their stomach, the owner simply never transitions them to an adult maintenance formula.
So they just leave a maintenance phase body running on high-octane growth fuel.
Indefinitely. And it is a mathematical guarantee of excess calorie intake. The fuel must evolve as the biological vehicle changes.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because, okay, say I navigate the aisle, I ignore the wolves, and I find the right maintenance bag for my adult dog. But the instructions on the back of that bag still feel like a trap.
They often are, yeah.
Right, because if those guidelines are formulated for an average dog, how do I account for my dog being a complete couch potato?
You have to use the bag's guidelines as a rough baseline, nothing more. Those printed portions are calculated based on broad averages, and they actually often skew toward intact, highly active dogs.
Oh, really?
Yes. Your specific Rottweiler has a unique metabolism. Their daily activity level, the genetics, whether they are spayed or neutered, all of these variables mean they might require significantly less kibble than the ink on the bag suggests.
I mean, treating those guidelines as absolute law is like trusting the suggested serving size on a box of cereal. It
Exactly.
completely ignores context. Like,
Bro.
it doesn't factor in whether you just ran a half marathon or if you spent the last 8 hours binge watching television on the couch.
The food bag doesn't know your dog's lifestyle, which means you cannot rely on a measuring cup to tell you if you are feeding the correct amount. You actually have to learn to physically read the dog's body condition.
Right. The notes refer to this as body condition scoring. And it sounds like a standardized veterinary scale, usually 1 through 9. So how do I actually map that onto my dog? Am I just looking for ribs?
Well, you cannot just look, especially with a breed that has a dense double coat like a Rottweiler.
The fluff hides a lot.
It really does. Visuals are totally deceptive.
Yeah.
You have to get your hands on the dog. A score of 4 or 5 on that 9-point scale is considered ideal, and to confirm that, you run your hands flat along the sides of their rib cage. You should be able to feel the ribs distinctly without applying heavy pressure.
So this isn't just a visual check from across the room. It sounds like you actually have to get your hands on the dog and read their ribs like a topographical map.
You absolutely do. It's a very tactile process.
Okay, so if I'm pressing down hard on their side and all I feel is a thick layer of squish before I hit bone, I'm already looking at a 7 or an 8 on that scale.
Yeah, you are dealing with an overweight dog at that point. The ribs should be readily palpable under a thin layer of fat, but importantly, they shouldn't be starkly visible to the naked eye. Tactile mapping is your first diagnostic tool. Then you incorporate 2 specific visual cues.
Okay, what are they?
First, standing directly above the dog and looking down at their spine, there must be a clearly defined waistline just behind the ribs. The body should taper inward.
And if they're creeping up to a 7 or 8 on that score, I assume that taper just vanishes.
The waistline disappears entirely. From above, the dog's torso takes on the shape of a rectangle, or in severe cases, an oval.
Yikes. Okay, and the second cue.
The second visual cue is from the side profile. You want to see an abdominal tuck, so the belly should slope sharply upward from the bottom of the ribcage toward the hind legs. If that tuck is gone and the belly is just flat or sagging, the dog is carrying excess fat.
Got it. And the opposite extreme, like a 1 or a 2 on the scale, that would be severe undernourishment, right? Ribs protruding, hip bones jutting out, a severely exaggerated tuck.
Exactly, and obviously, both extremes require a vet visit.
Right. But the source material places a massive emphasis on why that higher end of the scale, carrying even a little extra weight, is so structurally devastating for Rottweilers specifically.
It all comes back to the mechanical load. Rottweilers already possess a massive, dense skeletal frame. Their joints, ligaments, and tendons are working near maximum capacity just to support their natural muscular structure.
So there's not a lot of margin for error.
None. When you add unnecessary adipose tissue extra body fat to that equation, you're placing immense, unrelenting mechanical stress on joints that are not engineered to carry it.
It's like forcing the dog to wear a 10-pound weighted vest every single time they stand up, walk to the water bowl, or jump out of the car.
Yes. And over months and years, that constant friction and compression accelerate joint degradation. Keeping a Rottweiler lean throughout its life isn't just about aesthetics, It is the most aggressive, proactive measure an owner can take to preserve their long-term mobility and stave off osteoarthritis.
But keeping them lean is where the daily reality gets really messy. Because, I can nail the kibble portions, I can read the labels perfectly, and I can check their ribs every single week. But the extras happening outside the food bowl can just quietly dismantle all of that discipline.
Yes. The silent saboteurs. And treats are absolutely the primary offender here. The Academy notes emphasize that treats and table scraps should never, ever exceed 10% of the dog's daily caloric intake.
10% is so small.
It is, but with large breeds, our perception of scale gets completely warped. We look at a 100-pound animal and falsely assume that slipping them half a sandwich or a few giant biscuits won't even register metabolically.
We think a big dog has a bottomless metabolic budget. So what does this all mean? Extra treats are basically like microtransactions in a video game.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right. It's $1 here, $2 there, and it feels completely insignificant in the moment. And then suddenly you look at your credit card statement at the end of the month, or in this case, you look at the dog's disappearing waistline, and you realize your budget is completely blown.
And the destruction happens invisibly. The notes call this the gradual creep. 10 pounds of excess fat on a 100-pound dog is a 10% increase in total body mass. That is a catastrophic increase in joint load.
But you just don't notice it happening.
Because that weight gain happens slowly, ounce by ounce, the owner seeing the dog every single day becomes blind to it. The visual baseline just recalibrates in your mind. This is why objective data is non-negotiable.
Like actually weighing them.
Yes, regular veterinary weigh-ins or using tools like the Vital Pet app, which is actually mentioned in the sources, to log their weight over time, that pulls you out of that subjective blindness.
Because a digital scale doesn't care if the dog gave you puppy dog eyes for a piece of cheese.
Exactly. A scale catches the gradual trend over 6 months, long before the waistline disappears completely. And, tracking shouldn't just stop at food and weight. Hydration is a foundational metric that owners often overlook.
Oh, interesting. How so?
Well, the type of food you provide alters their baseline water intake.
Right. Because kibble has almost zero moisture compared to a fresh or wet diet, so the dog has to manually make up that hydration deficit at the water bowl.
Precisely. Establishing what normal drinking looks like for your specific dog on their specific diet is crucial. If you notice a sustained, marked increase in their trips to the water bowl, it isn't just a quirk. It's a potential early indicator of kidney or metabolic issues that warrants immediate veterinary attention.
Which naturally extends to what else we are putting in their bodies, like supplements. Because the notes touch on joint support powders and chews, which are practically a required purchase for large breed owners these days. Everyone is looking for that magic powder to protect the hips.
Supplements can offer genuine benefits, particularly as the dog ages and cartilage naturally wears down. But the critical takeaway from the Academy here is that supplementation must be guided by a veterinarian, not an internet trend.
Right. You can't just dump scoops of powder into their bowl and hope for the best.
No, because adding concentrated minerals or synthetic compounds to an already complete and balanced commercial diet can inadvertently throw their entire nutritional profile out of balance. It needs to be a targeted medical decision, not just a speculative addition.
It's precision over guesswork.
Exactly.
Well, when we synthesize all of this material, the central thesis really becomes clear. Nutrition isn't a one-time puzzle you solve when you buy a bag of food. It is a quiet, daily decision that compounds every single time you fill the bowl.
It really is. The objective isn't finding some mythical, perfect superfood. It's about consistent, biologically appropriate feeding that adapts to their shifting metabolic stages, maintaining a lean frame to protect those joints for a lifetime.
And it requires discipline from the owner.
Immense discipline. A dog that is kept appropriately lean at 2 years old is on a vastly different, exponentially healthier trajectory than one that was overfed during its critical growth window. The science provides the roadmap, but the owner has to actually enforce the speed limit.
And that enforcement is completely in your hands. The source material hammered home that what goes into that bowl is one of the only things you possess absolute control over, which leaves you with a slightly uncomfortable reality to process.
It does.
We hold all the cards when it comes to caloric intake. That makes you wonder, when we overfeed our dogs with constant treats, table scraps, and oversized portions, are we actually feeding the dog's biological needs? Or are we just feeding our own human need to feel affection and validate ourselves as caregivers? Next time you reach for that extra treat, ask yourself, who is this really for?